All righty. Well, for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and get started because we have such a packed, wonderful session, and I'm definitely looking forward to hearing from the panelists. So without further ado, my name is Crystal Jennings. I am the director for our youth leadership programs here at National Wildlife Federation. Again, happy to be here with you all. I want to welcome you to the Careers in Environmental Justice panel. While some career sectors are more clearly defined, environmental justice is being championed by professionals and activists in law, science, government, education, community organizing, and beyond. One of the pioneers of environmental justice, Dr. Bunyan Bryant, gave one of the most cited definitions of environmental justice, one that I love too. He describes it as referring to those cultural norms and values, rules, regulations, behaviors, policies, and decisions that support sustainable communities, where people can interact with confidence that the environment is safe, nurturing, and productive. Environmental justice is served when people can realize their highest potential, where both cultural and biological diversity are respected and highly revered, and where distributive justice prevails. I love that definition. For this panel, we will be highlighting 3 leaders who are dedicated to pursuing environmental justice in their professional lives. We will begin by introducing the speakers, and then we'll ask them each to share a bit more about their career paths, how they got to where they are now, and to give some of their advice for students today. So that is how our panel discussions will go. I see one of our speakers is here, so I'm going to start right now with Marisa. Marisa Valdez is a native, give a quick introduction of her, a native of New Mexico. She's a STEM enthusiast and a realist with environmental and social justice advocacy roots and environmental justice working group experience. She earned a master's in environmental policy from the New School's Milano School of Policy Management and Environment, and a bachelor's in Spanish and environmental science from the University of New Mexico. She has spent over a decade developing environmental education and STEM projects that address community needs in the United States and internationally. Marisa has worked with the state departments and federal agencies, such as the National Forest and Parks and Recreations, and she is an alumni of the Peace Corps and the Peace Corps Response. Marisa currently works with AES Clean Energy as a stakeholder relations analyst. Without further ado, Marisa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Crystal. And thank you both, Crystal and David, for all of the hard work that you guys are doing with this organizing. I'm sure it's lots and lots of movement, so I appreciate that effort. And I'm really, really excited to be just sharing a space with Sarah and Dr. Sacoby Wilson. So looking forward to furthering our conversations if we ever get another chance. But I wanted to just start with, and I wish I had a chance to tune into some of the other great conversations you all are having, but I will try and quickly summarize some of the pivots that I've gone through in my previous work experience. And I guess I'm definitely going to frame it around environmental justice. For me, environmental justice was not something that I knew the definition of. It was something that I understood, like ground truthing. It's something that I grew up in New Mexico, understanding that there was equity issues and very specifically having to do with our environment in New Mexico. And so over time, over my career, I think most of my career has been based in trying to understand environmental justice through the perspective of various lenses. And that took me into my undergrad as an environmental science major. Earth and planetary science was my focus. And I took that into Peace Corps, being an environmental educator, working in macroinvertebrate water testing, working in developing environmental programs for youth, integrating biointensive farming, permaculture, and then in my own personal life, taking time to learn more about native seeding techniques and also farming and agricultural techniques that are sustainable. my Peace Corps experience eventually went into my States and Parks National process, then into graduate school, where I had a lot of my research in environmental justice, working with the Justice 40, or developing the Justice 40 recommendations with the Equitable and Just National Climate Platform. And now I'm with AES Clean Energy, working to integrate all of that knowledge and understanding that over time I've had to build, because it's not like people tell you the thing that you're supposed to be discovering. It's you just asking questions over and over again to clarify those stories for yourself and where your passions will guide you. So I first and foremost, always be an advocate for yourself and your learning. Take the time to learn, take the time to ask questions to the people around you if you do not know. Who is the right person? Keep asking. That means that there's more wonderful people for you to meet and ask questions to, and always give credit where it is due. My life history and knowledge, like I said, has really functioned in this ground truthing. So another one of my hints would be to also make sure that any opportunity you have to get outside and learn something and get your hands dirty, and learn it yourself, is really wonderful. Throughout my Peace Corps experience, I realized that some of the questions I had couldn't be answered. And it was at that moment in time part of my initiative to start creating new channels for education, creating new channels for exploration, and creating new channels with the advice of the people around me, never just on my own. It takes a community, it takes an understanding, and pioneering something by yourself is wonderful, but also having the input of the community around you and understanding those community needs are really helpful for when you're trying to get something off the ground and moving. And the more you learn, the more you realize how intersectional a lot of these pieces are. And you find that you can become a connector, you can learn more, you can grow more. So yeah, those were my key points. I'm not gonna lie, I was excited for the other two speakers to go first. I do a little bit better with that, but excited to hear what they have and happy to answer questions later.
You've done a great job leading off. We appreciate that, Marisa. And from there, I'm going to switch over now to Dr. Sacoby Wilson. So I'm going to give a quick introduction. And then just as a quick reminder, Dr. Wilson, we're just asking everybody to share a bit about their career paths, how they got to where they are now, and to give their advice for today's students. So Dr. Sacoby Wilson is an associate professor with the Maryland Institute for Applied Environmental Health and Department of Epidemiology and Biostatistics, School of Public Health, University of Maryland, College Park. That's a lot. He has over 20 years of experience as an environmental health scientist in areas of exposure science, environmental justice, environmental health disparities, community-based participatory research, water quality analysis, air pollution studies, built environments, industrial animal production, climate change, community resiliency, and sustainability. As the director of the Community Engagement, Environmental Justice, and Health Initiative, he works in partnership with community-based organizations to study and address environmental justice and health issues, and to translate research to action. I love that. In addition, Dr. Wilson has been very active professionally as an environmental justice advocate. He is founder of 17 for Peace and Justice, a co-founder of the DC, Maryland, Virginia Environmental Justice Coalition, and also a co-founder of the Mid-Atlantic Justice Coalition. And he serves and has served on numerous environmental science and justice boards, from the EPA to the CDC to Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity and more. Dr. Wilson, please take the mic.
Thank you for that great introduction. Happy to be here today. Yeah, I think it's important, we think about students and your trajectories to the work you want to do. Now, I'll start off with some advice. You got to know what your why is. What's your why in life? And stick to your why. Don't let nobody stop you from making your why happen, your vision for yourself, okay? I grew up in Vicksburg, Mississippi. I lived near a landfill. I lived near a sewage treatment plant. I lived near a major highway. My dad was a pipe fitter. I also, like some folks out there who don't know what it is, I also have alopecia for 40 years. Just to go back to the Sunday that happened with the Oscars. Y'all don't know what alopecia is, and Miss Jada Pinkett. So I've had alopecia areata, alopecia totalis, and also alopecia universalis. So the reason why I'm a scientist, because of where I grew up, but also I want to understand what stressors led me to lose my hair. Because if you don't know by now, alopecia disproportionately impacts women. There's other autoimmune conditions like lupus that also disproportionately impacts women. Of course, I'm a woman, but that could be due to environmental etiology, environmental factors, right? So that's just a quick fact for y'all. But the alopecia is part of the driver behind my why and why I'm a scientist, okay? So I went to Alabama Agricultural Mechanical University, where I had great mentors. So as undergrad students, if you're gonna make it to where you wanna make it to, you gotta have mentors. Dr. Evelyn Ellis, Dr. Marjorie Kimball, Dr. Bradley Brown, Dean Schufer. I went to HBCU, right? I was able to get mentoring that allowed me, one of my letters of recommendation from Dr. Ellis, she would say, she came as a piece of coal, and we turned them to a diamond. She would write 5-page letters of recommendation from me. So as an undergraduate, I was a Udall scholar, a 2-time NASA space scholar, a Thurgood Marshall scholar, an Akron fellow. Y'all don't look at that acronym. I worked at the Yucca Mountain facility. I apologize. Yucca Mountain. I was an EPA MAI fellow. Okay. So I had opportunities to get trained. I did my first presentation on bacillolactic informants at one of the conferences in spring 1995. I met Dr. Robert Bullard and Dr. Benjamin Chavis at a conference in Liberty City State when we used to have the ECO program. And I knew from that point, I want to do EJ work because Dr. Bullard is called the father of the EJ movement. You know, Dr. Benjamin Chavis coined the term environmental racism. Meeting those mentors, external mentors, got me excited about the work I was on, the pathway I was on. But my mentors as an undergrad are still to this day the best set of mentors I had in my career. So mentoring is really important. You want mentors who are going to mentor all of you, not just part of you. So you want mentors who can do resource mentoring, discipline mentoring, like your discipline, your academic discipline, right? And then career development, you know, that whole person mentoring. And I got whole person mentoring from those 4 individuals and others at Alabama A&M. So mentoring is important. So I was able, you know, to do internships. I was a TVA intern. I interned at EPA. So you want to do internships. You want to seek internships, right? You want to seek people who believe in your why, right? When you are applying to graduate school, et cetera, you want to make sure that it's not all about the university program. There's 5 things you need to think about. University program, faculty mentee match, funding, and climate. A lot of universities have great programs, but that climate is bad. As someone who's been in academic institutions, I went to UNC Chapel Hill, sorry Tar Heels lost, grad school. I did my postdoc in Michigan. I had my first academic position at University of South Carolina, and I'm at University of Maryland. I dealt with racism, microaggressions, otherizing at all stages. The best time I had when I was nurtured, enveloped with love and training was at my HBCU, okay? Not even close. Now, I did have a great mentor, Dr. Steve Wing, who passed away about 5 years ago, who's known as the People's Professor. He trained me up in how to do community-engaged research, okay? Working on industrial hog farms in North Carolina. But when you apply to grad school, you just can't be enamored by the program. You got to make sure a mentor, a potential mentor who knows your well, who appreciates your well, has a similar why. And you want to make sure that climate is a climate they value who you are. Because the reason why I do EJ work is because where I came from, who I am, what I bring to the table. So you don't want to go into a program that's going to break that out of you. That's going to say, oh, you're not being objective enough. You know, that's why we do this work. Many of us get these degrees because of what we saw in the community. When you grew up in North Carolina near hog farms, you grew up in Detroit near the Marathon facility. If you grew up in New Mexico dealing with mining issues, right? If you're growing up in Chicago dealing with waste issues, if you're growing up in Richmond, California dealing with refineries, right? If you're growing up near in the colonias, we don't have water. Or you're growing up in the agriculture community, you don't have water. Growing in Uniontown, Alabama, or Lowndes County, Alabama, because you don't have water, or you got straight pipe and waste. Many of us are getting degrees because of where we grew up. Our lived context, architectural expertise, that should drive you. That's part of your why. So go to a place that values your why, is going to nurture your why, okay? That's important. And I've seen that throughout my career as someone who's been mentored, not having a lot of mentors in the academic setting post undergrad, actually, not really good mentors. And my best mentoring actually comes from my community partners. So folks like Omega Wilson in Mebane, North Carolina. If you're gonna do EJ work, y'all, you know, if you know the 17 principles that was mentioned in the presentation, in the comments about me, about following 17 for peace and justice, that's 17 principles of environmental justice. That's what it's about. That's the Magna Carta. That's the framework for EJ. You got to work in communities. You got to be able to help communities speak with their own voice. So you got to be able to provide, you know, those services to communities. I do science that serves. And we're looking for, I want y'all to think about how you can do science that serves. I do empowerment science, not with an E-N, but with an I empowerment. So how are you going to do that? It's helping people connect to the power they already have, right? Helping communities 17 principles of environmental justice. One of the principles about self-determination. How can we do self-determination with science? I also do what we call liberation science. How are we going to liberate? Come on, students. Your job is to help liberate these communities from environmental injustices. How are you going to liberate them from the toxic trauma, from the sacrifice zones they live in? How are you going to liberate them from the environmental racism that they're experiencing? That's why I do what I do. I don't do this because I want to publish a paper. I don't do this because I want to be popular. I do this because I want to serve the people who came from the community I come from. I came from, right? Who look like the communities where I came from, who dealing with the issues in the communities where I came from, right? I may not do as much work in Mississippi as I should do. I'm going to do more, but I work in communities like the communities where I grew up, you know? So that contextual experience, that contextual knowledge, that's valuable, right? And you need that. And you want to go into programs that support that, that nurture that, will help grow that, okay? And so today, you know, in my introduction as an associate, I was recently promoted to full professor. So I'm a full professor now, right? But that was a lot of trials and tribulations to get to this point. And so my advice to you is you gotta make sure you find the right environment. You find the right community. You have a network of mentors, both at your university where you're going to, and extended mentors, and find mentors who are you know, in the community. Because to me, those are gonna be some of your best mentors. Find mentors who are out there doing the work, and not just people just studying environmental justice, because environmental justice is not studying the problem. Environmental justice is an action. What are you doing to actually solve the problem, right? How are you helping these communities that are frontline, fence line, deal with these issues? How are you getting transformation, you know, restoration justice, right? Restorative justice, procedural justice, recognitional justice. How are you engaging that? If you're gonna be in this space, you gotta be about solutions and action, not do science that's extractive, scientific racism, or pain pippin science, I like to call it, but science is about building, science is about love, science that serves, science is about solutions, right? And so I'm happy to stop talking because I know my time is up, but this is the advice I'd like to give you today. And you know, if you want to learn more, y'all can always email me, and I'll pass the mic. Thank you.
Wow, that was powerful. I'm like kind of in the participant seat, but I got to get back to facilitator. But that was a really, really great talk. Thank you so much, Dr. Wilson. Moving on, because I know we have another panelist joining us. I want to welcome Sarah. So let me get her bio. So Sarah, Lillie Sewell is founder and chief executive officer of Lillie Leaf Solutions. As a fiercely passionate servant leader, I love that, Sarah builds programs that put a profit motive behind environmental stewardship and social equality. She began Lillie Leaf in 2015 to help the environmental sector develop new ways of addressing diversity, equity, accessibility, and inclusion in their work. Most recently, she launched and administered the Tree Equity Career Pathways Initiative at American Forest to inclusively grow the urban forestry workforce, which has resulted in the training of hundreds and the placement of dozens of individuals facing barriers to employment into entry-level tree care jobs. Sarah has led Lillie Leaf efforts to partner with entities like the U.S. Forest Service, the City Parks Alliance, Arbor Day Foundation, and many more to spearhead justice-driven initiatives that expand access to quality nature. Sarah, without further ado, we love to hear some more from you at this time.
Thank you so much. I do have some slides, but I'm gonna run through them really quickly. I need a little bit of a visual aid. Dr. Wilson, that was like very powerful, inspiring. I was like, oh man, I got to follow that. Okay. This is great though. And Marisa, this is just fantastic to have you, to join both of you on the line here today. I'm really excited about going ahead and making sure that, you know, we elevate all of our journeys onto what environmental justice centric careers look like. And so I am not able to share my slides, it looks like, given my privacy settings. So I'll be just giving an overview of them. So hi, I'm Sarah Lillie. As it was in the introduction, I run my own firm called Lillie Leaf Solutions, founded in 2015. And essentially what I want to encourage all of you on the line to do is to kind of think about a Venn diagram to help chart your career path. So, you know, you may be in school now, you may be thinking, I'm so jazzed about the environment, right? That was me. I am you, you are me, we're the same. That was me in high school. I was like, I'm super jazzed. I love nature. Whatever day there was that I had any free time, I was outside. And that was my passion, was nature. And then if you overlay that kind of circle of what you're passionate about onto what the market actually needs, you know, we do live in a capitalistic society, which means that in order to feed yourself and clothe yourself and house yourself, you have to be providing some kind of value that people are willing to pay for. And so overlaying what does the market need is important. And then finally, the last kind of circle in the Venn diagram is what you're good at, right? What are your strengths? And, you know, you may have something that you're passionate about that you're good at, but that the market doesn't need. And so maybe you put that in a hobby, right? You may have something that you're passionate about that the market needs. And so you're like, okay, well, let me learn more about that, right? Let me study that in my next iteration. So you may study that in college, you may end up studying that in trade school or through a certificate program, et cetera. And then maybe you have something that you're really good at. You're like, okay, I know I'm the best when it comes to making sales or something like that. And so you're good at that. And then that's also a need of the market, right? Because there's always job openings for sales folks. And in that kind of overlap, you may have your backup plan, right? Something that you could always fall back on in case you need to tap into that. But really the sweet spot is when you get to do something that you're passionate about, that fills the market need, and that you're also good at. And that's what I ended up finding along my journey into where I work now, which is mostly around urban greening, urban forestry and urban parks. And so to kind of briefly sum up my journey, but challenge you all to think about those overlaps, right? Passion, market needs, and strengths. I ended up, nothing goes along as planned, right? You're just like Marisa was saying earlier, the best laid plans, can be either derailed or interrupted by like sometimes really pleasant surprises or new relationships that you might make with other folks who you wouldn't have thought of meeting before, right? Dr. Wilson mentioned mentorship, right? And so mentorship can be a huge, amazing tool to kind of open up your eyes to different opportunities and help you be supported in your different opportunities that you may seek. So if you're seeking internships, if you're seeking paid part-time positions, temporary positions, things that can support you as you continue your learning, right? And further along your passion and your strengths. Having people who are not going to just mentor you, but maybe sponsor you, right? I don't know if you all know the difference between mentorship and sponsorship yet, but sponsors can speak to your talents and your skill set when you're not in the room. And so sponsors have been a huge way for me to advance my career and help me get into the right spaces because I knew that people had my back when I wasn't even there, which was huge. Being able to align yourself though with what you're passionate about, what other people will pay for, and what you're good at can really be helpful because when you get to meld all those things, you already know that you're going to be able to be secure long-term. So kind of briefly, my career went a little unexpectedly into urban greening. I ended up having 5 job offers after finishing my undergraduate degree in urban planning and environmental studies and geographic information systems. And I lost all of them. Because I was a collegiate athlete and I ended up breaking my wrist at my very last track meet right after graduation. And I thought my life was over. I was demoralized. I was depressed. I couldn't lift anything. I couldn't write anything because it was my dominant hand. And I was like, what am I going to do from here? Right. And so I ended up going back to my tribe. I had a couple months of recovery. I moved back home in with my parents, which was super humbling because I thought I was going to be this big bad, I'm working in, in the environment, and I'm going to make urban cities better, and I'm going to green them all up and all these things. And that was not it wasn't a straight line. The path to that route was not a straight line. And so I did the backup plan. I said, okay, well, I'm good at working with people. I like working with people. And I know the market needs people who care at all about the environment. And so I ended up doing solar panel sales door to door. And it was a really interesting experience. And it taught me that you can still get really valuable experience, even if it's not exactly what you want at the time. And so after that, about 2 months into that job, I ended up landing my dream job and working nationally for an urban forestry nonprofit, and continued along with my career in urban forestry until I founded my own firm in 2015. And so have gone in-house at different clients. I've been outside on my own at a firm, but I'm happy to answer more of your questions as we get into the Q&A here shortly. But yeah, just stay encouraged and you'll find your path. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Lillie, wow, that's all of the information that's been shared thus far has just been super valuable. So can't wait to keep moving into this Q&A and get some more advice and suggestions and great stories out of our panelists. So the first question, and I'm looking at the Q&A box, and I guess it can go to anyone who's interested in answering, or all panelists. If y'all want to jump in, just jump on in. But the first question is, reflecting back on your decision to pursue environmental justice as part of your professional life, what professional skills did you consider important then? And do you feel the same way now? Or are there important skills that you were unaware of at the time? So just thinking through your skills, what you thought was important then and what you found out, what you need now. Anyone who wants to jump in?
I'll jump in real quick. Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll go second. Go ahead.
Thank you for letting me.
Go ahead.
I think that a lot of what we're speaking to right now is that the environmental justice world, I won't speak for anyone, right? You speak for yourselves, the community speaks for themselves. But understanding where you're coming from in your knowledge and understanding the perspective in which you are seeing, and maybe the perspective in which other people might be seeing the world around. It's not necessarily a technical skill, but taking a moment to step back and understand where everyone is coming from, I guess falls into communication and further giving space to that communication. Environmental justice is takes time, it takes space, it takes collaboration. And so assuming that that it happens just because you want it to, it's something that I'm always constantly reminding myself. It takes input and not just one. So communication is key. That's my top one.
And just to add to that, I think you got to have community engagement, stakeholder engagement, just engagement skills. And so communication, building relationships, how to build trust. I mean, those things I knew about early on. And even if you do have good community engagement skills, what you do in one community doesn't necessarily work for another community. So you have to be flexible. You have to be humble. You have to put on your listening ear. It's all about building relationships and maintaining relationships. So that's part of it. And then on the technical side, GIS, mapping skills are very important. I mean, I think that's one of the core skill sets. Being able to do writing, people, you gotta be able to write, y'all. Communicate again. You gotta be able to do new media and old media. So I know some of y'all are younger than me, so y'all probably good at TikTok. I haven't used TikTok, I have an account. Instagramming. So how do you get the information out to the people in the ways they can receive it? So knowing your audience is important. But mapping skills, and then, you know, when it comes to the science part, you got to know some stats, man. You got to get in that stats. So doing stats, doing GIS, community engagement, though, and bit of communication. I think all those are core skill sets that you have to have. I'll pass the mic.
And I'll just add briefly, the greatest skill that you could have is to know where your strengths end. Being self-aware is something that is really, really important. For example, I have a great deal of privilege coming into environmental justice. I did not grow up near a Superfund site. I grew up in a super privileged, like, white suburb in New Jersey. Okay, so I don't have a lot of lived experience enduring environmental injustice. And so I don't speak to that because it's not my area of expertise, it's not my lived experience. But what I do is I lift up the voices of people who have. And so I use my relative, privilege to be an ally to other folks in the field. And so that's really important, self-awareness.
Thanks for that. That's some wonderful advice and suggestions around that question. I'm going to move on because we have, looks like 2 more questions so far in the queue. So the next question, again, just feel free to jump in, is, as mentioned in the introduction, the pursuit of environmental justice should be inherent in many jobs and careers. That said, are there specific career pathways that you would highlight and uplift? And if so, how would you recommend a student today in high school or college best prepare themselves for pursuing that career path?
I can wait. If y'all want me to go, I'll go ahead and go first. Yeah, okay, I'll go ahead and go. Yeah, I think really interesting question. I mean, environmental justice is a comprehensive framework, right? Where we live, where we work, where we play, where we pray, where we learn, right? And so you got to be in different spaces and different places. So you need different disciplines. So it's not just one pathway, one discipline contribute to environmental justice. We need lawyers doing the EJ work. We need more lawyers. We need more folks who come from these communities who are lawyers. We need more scientists. We definitely need more folks who are urban planners. I mean, for those of you, when you learn about comprehensive plans, master plans, I think inequities in planning zone development drive environmental injustice. So equity in planning zone development can lead to environmental justice. You got to be working on climate change. We can't address climate change and differential impacts of climate change without understanding racism, right? To me, for the whole life cycle of fossil fuels, because a lot of greenhouse gas emissions, climate change is due to fossil fuels. So extraction from transport, processing, combustion, right? So we need you to be engineers, right? So we need folks as engineers. We need people as lawyers. We need people in geography. We need people in sociology. We need folks who are doing nonprofit management. One of the big issues when it comes to communities that are dealing with EJ issues, capacity. Folks don't have the capacity to submit grant proposals. We need science writers. We need y'all in every field. So really what is important is, if you want to understand what communities are experiencing, you kind of know what skill sets to have and how you contribute when you go in your career pathways, you should be interning with an EJ group. You got the North Carolina EJ Alliance, the South Carolina EJ Network, the National Black Environmental Justice Network. You got the Asia Pacific Islander Environmental Network. You got the California Environmental Justice Alliance. You got the Michigan Environmental Justice Network. You got the New York Environmental Justice Alliance. I can keep going, y'all. Climate Justice Network. There's groups that you in your community or in your state, you should find an EJ group and you should work with them as an intern. That's going to help you figure out which direction you want to go and how you can get the skill sets and the training to come back in that community, other communities, be the fabric of change. I'll pass the mic.
Well said. I have nothing to add.
I think some of the work that I've done and of course, Dr. Sacoby Wilson, well said. And I think from the policy side and some of the research that I've done previously is understanding your municipal, your state, and your federal. And I know that's like a big chunk to like try and chip away at. But even right now, there's a new environmental justice screening tool that the EPA is releasing, and it's in comments period, and they're doing sessions. And there's a lot of interesting conversations behind that. And there's a lot of EJ groups that are doing some really excellent open platforms for discussing some of the issues that they see with these tools. So although like the federal, the state, the municipal levels might not always be exactly what the EJ community would like to see it as, understanding those pieces is really helpful, because it's a lot and it's always shifting. And so just trying to find your way into even understanding bits and pieces of it, and like remembering that you're learning this. So listening to the people who are the mentors and who have been in the community for a very long time. These are spiritual or like religious community leaders. These are people who also work within like the local grocery store down the road, people who are working in community gardens, like people who live in their community, have been in their community for an extended period of time. Have a cup of coffee with someone who's lived in your neighborhood for a long time that you don't get to talk to very often, and ask them like just to have a conversation about what things were like and how they've seen things change. Is something that I've found in my life over time to be very helpful, is just to sit down and ask people questions.
Sounds good. And it looks like, just to give you all an idea, we have 3 questions now in the Q&A box and maybe about 10 minutes. So again, jump in. I think this question is for any panelist, and I think you've all touched on this a little bit, but the question is, what advice do you have for people interested in environmental justice, racism, that are either not people of color or did not grow up experiencing environmental injustice? How can non-people of color be sure to center intersectionality and equality in their work when they lack lived experiences with environmental racism?
I can jump in on this briefly, just given my own lived experience of having had a passion for the environment, but not really seeing the intersection with environmental justice until midway into my career. Because I think one of the things that we can do as folks with relative privilege, everybody's got some kind of privilege, but it's all relative, is learn the system that you know. So if you're a CPA or you love numbers or you love science or whatever you love, learn the system that you're in and figure out, okay, are the voices who are shut out of the system, who've systemically been shut out of the system, being reflected in the priorities of the work that I'm doing, of the organization I work for, or the company that I'm working for, of the government that I'm serving, et cetera, right? And so that's the question I asked myself. I was like, how am I working in urban greening and everybody's who does this, who lives in a suburb? This doesn't make any sense. Like the people who were over here claiming to serve, right? We're doing so with like a savior mentality. That makes no sense. Like we need to stop what we're doing, go and listen to exactly what Marisa was saying, like go listen to what folks' priorities are, and then actually reflect that in the work. And that's how you hold institutions and organizations accountable to achieving the priorities of folks who have maybe, been shut out of decision-making processes before.
Yeah, just to add to that, I mean, it can be tough. I mean, we all can be an outsider. So even if just because I'm a person, just because I'm Black, I can go to Black. I put both feet in my mouth going to Black communities. So just because I'm Black doesn't mean I automatically, just because I come from a community, I'm gonna say I come from an EJ community. So I didn't see it that way as a kid, but when I look back, I lived within a mile. When I took the bus home, I drove by the sewage treatment plant, I drove by the landfill, right? I drove by, these issues. I drove across the major highway. The nuclear power plant is 20 miles from my house. My dad worked there. And so that's my lived experience, but you don't necessarily have to have lived experience to be an ally, right? It's about building good relationships. So how do you build that trust? How do you bring resources to the table, yourself to the table as an ally? How as Sarah said, you kind of have to be, I tell my colleagues all the time in Maryland, we do not have a strong EJ movement in Maryland, grassroots driven. It's very much proxy groups. We got a lot of proxies. I'm a proxy too. But as a proxy, how can we provide more support, resources, and infrastructure to those who are from the front line and fence line? That's how we can be a good ally. So don't be in the front. Check your privilege at the door. Put on your listening ear and be in the background. Be the support. Be the technical support. Be like Best Buy. We all should be like the Best Buy. What's the blue team at the Best Buy? That's what good allies should be. Providing support. Doing science, as I said, that serves. Helping to empower, not by someone give you power, as Sarah was saying, coming in with safer mentality, or all kinds of ways you can talk about this. Very problematic, but support. I'll pass the mic.
Awesome. Once again, if you guys ever want to just chat again sometime, this is wonderful conversation, but I appreciate the time and space. I think what I would say is, as of now and how science is, it isn't necessarily and wasn't always built for a qualitative analysis, and it's often focused on quantitative. And so understanding how people are using that data around you, and that's exactly what they are saying. Like Sarah mentioned, understanding who the people you're working for are, what they're using that information, how they're framing it, and just giving that space to understanding what it means for EJ communities who've been experiencing cumulative impacts of these toxic exposures or have been experiencing large amounts of just really getting to know the definition of environmental justice and the communities that come from it. And even before, there's the HAMUS principles that are really wonderful to like dig your feet into. There's just so much work in the EJ history that you can really spend a lot of time just digging into where these principles came from, how they've developed over time, and familiarizing yourself with that understanding. And then again, going back and confirming with your specific community, if that is exactly where your community is interested in going, understanding community needs.
Sounds good. And we have 2 more questions in the Q&A, and I think this one will be more so directed towards Sarah Lillie, and then the last one for Dr. Sacoby, just to give you guys an idea. Sarah, someone asked, how do you find and get a sponsor?
A great question. My criteria, because I also identify as a dreamer, is find someone dreaming the dream that you're dreaming or doing the dream that you're dreaming, and then follow them. Do what they're doing. Try to enact your dream. If you have a dream, I got really active in college in the advocacy space. So I was in like Free the Planet, and I was in like, I was the president of the student athletes, and I got into writing like legislation, like draft legislation. And that was a really great crash course in making the dreams that I had, which was like that all student athletes should have rights to get paid for, their various activities, or that, everybody who wanted to should be able to go to the Power Shift conference, which is really important. And it was starting when I was in college, because that dates me. But everybody should be able to do that. And so I was like, oh, well, what could I do to guarantee that? Well, you have to codify it into policy. You got to write it down and make it an institutional practice. And so that helped me shorten the distance between what I could dream up and what I could make reality. And I always found myself in with try to get mentors from wherever, and align myself with people who were doing that. And so when I expressed to them my dreams, they said, oh, your dreams are my dreams. Let me help you, because they could see themselves in me and in my dreams. So you can't really control people speaking about you outside of where you're talking with them directly, but find people who are dreaming and doing what you're dreaming and doing.
I love that advice. Thank you so much, Sarah Lillie. I'll say this question is for Dr. Sacoby, but I also think that it could go to any of the panelists as we have the next few minutes to wrap up. But the question is around, we know already, Dr. Sacoby, that you talked about mentors. So going back to that area, They wanted to know, who do you look to for advice or feedback on advancing your own career? And then if Sarah and Marisa would like to jump in, they also wanted to know, have you had professional mentors help you craft your career? So I'll throw that out and start with you, Dr. Sacoby Wilson.
Yeah, so thank you for that question. Yeah, mentors, again, mentors are really important. I had, some very pivotal mentors, as I said early on, were really my community mentors on really being able to do EJ work the right way. Doing EJ for the people, other people, for the people, and by the people. But actually, unfortunately, during my career in academia, when I came to University of Maryland, our School of Public Health was only 15 years old. I was the senior EJ person. I didn't have a mentor above me on campus or in my school who knew EJ. There are people who do EJ work. I'm not trying to be bad what I'm about to say. There are people who do EJ work, but I call it EJ light. If you're just studying EJ, you're not doing EJ. EJ is about problem solving solutions. Let me tell you, all you that students, if you're going to work on EJ, it's about solving problems, just not studying problems. Because when you're extractive, that's pain pipping, y'all. People in survival mode, right? That's off subject, but I just want to say it again because I'm around folks who tell me they do EJ in my area. Are you with the community? Are you on the ground with them? Are you doing policy change, dealing with the CQ tool or mapping tools? I build mapping tools too. So I'm all about the Justice 40 and all that. We got to build with this. We didn't get passed. We try to get past this session in Maryland, right? But so unfortunately, I didn't have that senior mentor in my field. But I do have a cohort of peers in the EJ space. Mustafa Ali, if you don't know him, you should know him because he's with the National Wildlife Federation. I know Mustafa about 25 years. Dr. Bullard has been like a long distance mentor. Fernice Miller-Travis, she helped co-found We Have Environmental Justice. Fernice lives 15 minutes down the road. I can text Fernice anytime I need to. Leslie Fields with Sarah Club. Dr. Adrian Hollis, Dr. Jalon White Newsom, Christy Federnet. She's a science advisor for NRDC. So I have a peer network. We meet once a month to talk. I can text them, call them anytime. So my peer network is basically my mentoring support network. And I'll stop talking. I'll pass the mic back. Thank you.
I'll just note that basically, I'll say that the people who have helped craft my career have largely been white women, which is kind of random. But I'm not picky. I'm about people who are doing and dreaming the things that I'm doing and dreaming. And, if they're willing to help me and move me forward into the right spaces that I maybe couldn't have gotten into on my own, I'm about that. And so that's been good. But I want to just make a point that I have also been shut out of many places and rejected from many places for things that were beyond my control, all the isms and other things. And so those experiences have also shaped my career just as much as the mentors and other folks who are encouraging me have, because I was like, okay, so y'all are just about this big talk and this big funder money, but you're not really about getting the work done on the ground. And so I'm like, okay, that is against my ethos. So I need to extract myself from this situation and find a better place to do my work. And so that's happened a few times throughout my career too. So pay attention to not just your pull factors of people who are, bringing you in, but also your push factors, and use those times to reflect and think to yourself, okay, is this the right career choice? Because you get too many of those kinds of things piling up, and you may want to find yourself on a different path.
I think this is actually a learning moment for me. I think while in graduate school, I had briefly a mentor that was within an impact entrepreneurship fellowship that I had, but it was within kind of a field that I'm not necessarily, I'm not interested in necessarily building a business right now. And I've more often enjoyed being the Best Buy support team, and really just making sure that those efforts are going to the right places. I'm an idea person. So I like to listen and connect. I am not necessarily, I don't have like one string, but I mean, having I talk to my mom. I have a family. I enjoy like going back and chatting with just those, like having the sounding board of a community is just really important. I don't have an actual mentor. So yeah.
Well, thank you. And honestly, I could sit on this call and listen and learn for so much more time than we had allotted today. But I do need to wrap things up. So again, I just want to thank you so much, Dr. Sacoby Wilson, Marisa, Sarah, Lillie. Thank you so much for being a part of this discussion, for sharing your knowledge, your experiences, your advice with everyone on the call today. Again, it's been super valuable. And again, just can't thank you enough for that. I do have a few announcements. I know we're a little over time, but it looks like we still have a 30-minute break. So I do want to encourage participants to check out the college, universities, and the organizations that are in the expo hall until our next meeting or session, which starts at 3:45. Did I get all the announcements right, Mr. Corsar, David?
That's correct. You got it.
That's it. All righty. Well, thank you all so much again for joining us, and you enjoy the rest of the day, the rest of the sessions, and we'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you for the rest of the sessions. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Good luck.
Thank you.